is Russell Linville. I'm a sports PT. Today is Saturday, so we're talking about the squat. In the last 2 weeks, we've talked on week 1 about the air squat. How do you ascend and descend with good mechanics and form using just your body weight? Week number 2, last week we talked about the split squat. How do we bias one leg over the other as we ascend and descend? So today, just to make things a little bit tougher, we're trying to progress every week, give you something new to work on. We're talking about how do you load these two positions. So we know we've seen people in the gym, they're doing front squats with a heavy barbell or back squats, or they're doing deadlifts off the floor, right? So we're gonna try to incorporate some ways you can progress to those things without getting yourself under a bar just yet. Right? You wanna make sure you have the fundamentals and the basics down first. So a couple things to keep in mind here. We still wanna make sure we get a good, nice dynamic warm-up in. You wanna make sure your ankle mobility is up to par before you start. You might wanna stretch out. And you also wanna make sure that you maintain this neutral spine position as you put yourself under load. One thing that load does is it has a tendency to break our neutral spine. So if we're holding weights and we descend, sometimes we want to collapse here. So if that's the case, the load is too much, we want to make sure we get into that neutral spine position. Remember, we think about that squat box where if your sternum raises up or your sternum points down, that just translates into our spine is flexing forward or backwards. So we're going to avoid that position. So a couple ways we do this. We'll just take some 25-pound dumbbells. The best and easiest way to do this at first, just to get used to a little bit of load, is hold the weights by your side, almost like you're carrying, 2 suitcases, one in each arm. And then you're going to try to maintain that neutral spine position. You descend down and you ascend back up. From the side, of course, that looks like just like this. You descend down and you ascend back up. You do not need to go all the way down to the ground. You don't need to break neutral. It is okay, despite what people on the internet say, to do quarter squats. If this is what you feel comfortable doing under load at this point in time, then do that. If you can't go lower than this without keeping a neutral spine, then stay right there, right? So don't try to let your ego get in the way here. Make sure that you can actually maintain and hold the weight. So weight by your side, that's one way to do it. Another way people will do, they'll go into this front rack position. So they'll put the weight here, or some people all the way up here where they let the weight rest on their shoulders. Maintain neutral spine, they descend and ascend back up. This translates into a front squat with the barbell at some point in time. We'll talk about that. From the side, it looks like this. Very nice. Another way you can do it is if you have a kettlebell or a dumbbell, you can hold this just like this. Similarly, this might be easier to descend lower than holding a dumbbell one on each side. You drop down and up. It's also a very functional position. It almost mimics a deadlift, right? But you're trying to maintain neutral spine again. We're harping on that big time. But I don't want you to flex your spine under load at this point just yet. So we're going down, hold that position. We're thinking knees out. Open up the hips and push straight through to the standing position. The split squat, if you remember, we're okay with the shin translating forward. Your back leg, again, should have little to no weight on it. It's just there as like a kickstand so that you can balance. We'll hold in the same position here, dropping down and up. So what it looks like, we stand from the side, neutral spine, weights on the front leg, we descend down. This is a great position to be in. And right back up. You should feel this in the front of your thigh, your quad. If there's any questions, please shoot me a message. This is how you start to load in an easy way from a normal body weight movement, starting to progress into some of the more flashy stuff that we think about, barbell front squats, heavy back squats, etc., etc. We'll start to progress towards those movement patterns, and I'll give you tips along the way of things I look for when I'm progressing someone through this chain. But again, a lot of you people that might be viewing this video know some of this basic stuff. There's a lot of people who don't. So it's important to make sure that if you do know this stuff, you think about this for a second, that you rehash on some of the basics and the movement mechanics that are involved. If you're doing really, really heavy weight and you're not able to break a PR. Let's say you've plateaued for a while. It'd be a good idea to just rehash on some of this stuff that you might have just skipped over, so that you can break through a plateau, right? Maybe you need to work on your movement pattern better, neutral spine position, quad activation, whatever it might be to break through your plateau. So this stuff is good for everybody, even if you think you already know it. I appreciate your time. This is Russell Linville, Become a Better Human Project. Talked about how to load the air squat and the split squat. Thanks for viewing. Appreciate it.